Hello?
Oh, there we go.
Oh, huh.
How are you, Zamir?
I'm good, man.
How's Russia?
Russia sucks.
How's the lockdown going over there?
I think you need to know more than you need to.
This is a fair point.
It's been raining and it's cold. It's not summer.
Woof. We've had a lot of that going on. We went from snow to 90 degrees to hell in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, May was weird, so something is not cooking right anyway, but I'm not complaining as long as I have my vodka bottle next to me. Can you see it?
Nope. There it is.
Yeah?
Yep,
Good, so I'm okay.
that's good. So when I reached out, we had talked, excuse me, with Bourdain Day coming up, I wanted to get a chance to talk to you and kind of get your thoughts on everything. It'll be 2 years since Tony passed away, and I wanted to see where you're at. I know you guys were really close. I had honestly forgotten until you mentioned it yesterday that the first time you guys were on camera together was the episode of Cook's Tour. When I watched it last night, I was like, oh my God, I completely forgot about this. So I guess one question I have is, you sent Tony to get the dish, the kubiak?
Kulibiaka.
And so it doesn't seem that he liked it very much. So I was wondering, was Tony sending you for your little trip to the hair museum, a little payback for sending him solo to eat that?
Well, yes and no, but it developed in a different configuration. Have you watched Uzbekistan episode on Parts Unknown?
Yes.
About 2004 or 4 probably. Do you remember that iconic massage scene?
Yes, I do.
So he kind of didn't complain, which I love about him, no matter what. And he knew that I didn't plan it to be that gross, like that the guy, the masseur, whom I lubricated, as it is part of the culture in Uzbek country, right?
Yep.
But I did it on purpose, meaning that I lubricated him before the massage because he was very shy. He didn't want to be on camera. They never seen a camera crew before, especially foreigners. So that, for me as a fixer, I need to deliver the goods. So it's not only access to the sauna, whatever, the steam room. I also needed the guy on camera doing his kind of standard massage, which I never experienced myself, right?
Right.
But since I lubricated him in advance to give him more motivation, he outdid his performance. So he probably thought that all foreigners, Americans, need something really like raw. So as you remember, he was very well into kind of...
Oh, he was wrenching on you guys.
Harassment kind of thing, like male to male, and Tony would never accept it, of course, but since he was on camera, he couldn't complain. It was too late. So my heart belonged to him. I was there in sufferings because I was eyewitnessing something I didn't see, ever in this type of a massage configuration. So to cut a long story short, which I realized only at the next episode, chronologically, it was next year in Moscow, Russia, 2005, I would assume. So he decided to reciprocate, and he knew my birthday was upcoming. It was, I think, the fall, and my birthday was in October. So probably it was a bit earlier, like a week before my birthday. So he said, Zamir, you anyway deserve a gift. So he invited me to this Italian spa in Moscow. And since I've never been to this kind of things, not my cup of tea, they paid for my waxing scene.
Oh, the waxing, yeah.
Yeah, my kind of, what we call the chest breast waxing,
Yep.
right? So, which happened to be his revenge, as I realized once it started. So in other words, that Cook's Tour had nothing to do with any kind of planned setups or inventions, because at that point he had no clue what his future would be like. He was absolutely unknown personality apart from the Kitchen Confidential success. He never done any TV appearances before. It was his kind of a pilot thing, if I remember correctly. Either, well, it was for Food Network, but originally I think his partners, Chris and Lydia, who were two cameramen and the production manager between them, tried to sell that type of a pilot idea to New York TV, if I remember correctly, New York television. So somehow I think it was Food Network who decided to go ahead as a risk. So they did two visits, I think Japan and somewhere else, before they ended up in Moscow. So he was, sorry, in St. Petersburg. He was very insecure, very shy on camera. So after the first, toasts with vodka at a local Russian restaurant, he said, Zamir, it looks that you're like icebreaker. You can make bridges between people you've never met. It was our first introduction to each other live. He said, how about you join me on camera? So like step out behind the camera as a field producer / fixer needs to be. And overnight it started as unplanned, unscripted, absolutely wild experience of two of us, becoming co-hosts of his show.
That's great. And of course, so from what I remember, that was the start of the curse of fishing on any of Bourdain's shows when you guys were out on the ice and pulled up the minnow.
That was surreal. That was in Fahrenheit, I would assume probably minus 20 Fahrenheit. Is it cold enough in Fahrenheit?
Yeah, that's really cold. And I mean, I've ice fished, and it's worse out on the water because there's nothing to block the wind. So that perceived cold is even worse.
So it was kind of unscripted once again. I knew he wanted to do some kind of a local Russian time passing of mail. So we were lucky to just start walking along that Neva River and bumped into just two lonely guys. There was not a single other human living in that area on the ice, and they were just enjoying it with a bottle of vodka, of course, and joking and having fun. So we joined them and had the amazing experience.
That's pretty great. Do you want to, I got like your head's half cut off here. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Okay.
You have a beautiful home, but I don't think we want to look at your walls while you're talking.
Well, listen, it's my second experience on Zoom. So
this is number one for me. So we're in the same boat.
You see, so yeah, I'm here. If you want to see more of me and Tony's T-shirt with Cook's Tour name, by the way, I'm happy to show it to you. Like,
that's from the one at Kleinhand's.
Yeah, from last year.
Before, yeah. So you and I met. It was 2013 when he did the Close to the Bone tour, I think, or I don't remember. It was at Shea's Buffalo, and I got a chance to meet you guys afterwards at the meet and greet at Bacchus Wine Bar, and it was great. I got to talk to you. I got to talk to Tony, and I remember the look on his face when I walked up with the tray of vodka, and you were like,
I remember that. Yeah,
you were giddy, and Tony just kind of looked at me, and goes, "Oh, what is it?" When I said vodka, I remember you just start laughing, and
of course.
So you were right in, and Tony kind of reluctantly took it and kind of bonked himself on the head like that, and we got to talking about a shared passion with a television show, Justified, which is based on an Elmore Leonard book. And I remember, it was a brief encounter. I didn't get to spend long talking to him. It was a big line, but we had about 5 minutes where we just chatted, and it was an impactful meeting. And I remember thinking that, just how genuine and down to earth he was to just meet his fans and connect with people on that level. People always tell you, don't meet your heroes. And this was like the exception that proves the rule. Meeting Tony was probably one of the more impactful things that I've done in my life and my career. Obviously you've known Tony, you knew Tony, you guys were very close for about 17 years. Do you have like a really fond memory that maybe didn't take place on camera that you'd like to share?
Well, honestly, there were so many of them that it's always hard to come to something more fun than less fun, right? Because he was still is for me actually a lot of fun. Believe me or not, on my table, like sort of on my desk, here is another inspiration. His most recent book, you'll see it in a second, called Anthony Bourdain, Remember.
Everybody's kind of reactions afterwards. It was the book that was written originally for his daughter, right?
Well, I'm not sure. The way I understand it was written after he took off, and it was written by CNN hired associate, I think maybe Laurie Woolliver, who was his writing editor / assistant. So it's not his writing, it's just people remembering him with the photos from the shows and kind of paying tribute.
Right. I guess what I meant was it was when it was originally written, it was a book of memories about Tony that they had originally intended to give to his daughter one day.
Oh yes, yes, but
she was so young when he passed.
Yes, exactly. So no one planned it as a tribute at that point or arbitrary or something. Yeah, it was just his stories from his photos from his travel, and some of the people like Eric Ripert, who was most of personal family friends, so to say. So Eric, and some photos of fans around the world whom he met, like you, off stage and different setups. Yeah, it's a very interesting move. Just the way people look at him, like his legacy, very, very important for my mission, which is to try and upkeep his legacy and memory as long as I can push it. And I'm not sure you were aware. Are you a member of this Anthony Bourdain Appreciation Society?
I'm not.
Okay, doesn't matter. So there are many groups on Facebook, and I chose this one because I like them more than anybody else, because any person who joins them has kind of to spell out the story, why and what influence Tony made on him, on her, in what configuration, like as a chef, as a TV personality, and whether there was some life-changing impact and situation. So anyway, I'm a member, and with the moderator, Hugh Salinger, we decided to do international toasting marathon on upcoming June 8th, Remembrance Day.
Hey, Zamir, I just, if I can just stop you one sec, I'm getting your arm again. If you can just kind of center your camera a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
So go on. June 8th, international kind of like toasting to Tony Day. I did mention that on, it's either your Facebook or your Instagram.
Yeah. So if you are a member of any of my groups, join us on Monday, June 8th. And I think this is kind of more or less the final confirmation, which will be on social media tomorrow. It will be happening like kind of live stream from me. And I'm still learning this. Either it will be stories on Instagram or stream on Instagram, which means that in 3 different time periods, so to say, Eastern daytime will start at 1 p.m. Then it will be 2 p.m. and 1 sec, because I try to embrace people in the West Coast. So the last one, let's put it this way, the last one will be 11 p.m. Moscow time, so it will be 23 minus 7. It will be 4 p.m. the last one in your time zone. The previous one will be at
Standard Time?
Yeah, Eastern Standard. So the previous will be at 3 and the first will be at 2. So between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. your time, I will try to embrace those people who will happen to be on live streaming kind of with me, and we'll toast.
That's great.
To the memories, to his legacy, and definitely will you know, toast is like short message about someone you miss. It's like your message of love and you know, emotions, especially with those whom you don't see anymore.
You know, and it's funny too, for a lot of us, you know, a lot of people had experiences like me. A lot of us weren't fortunate enough to be as close to Tony or have as much time with Tony as you did. So it's kind of wild. It shows how impactful he was and how impactful his life was, that in that very short time that he touched people, and, you know, through his shows, you know, to say you miss somebody that you had so little time with, it shows how impactful Tony was.
Listen, Kevin, since I'm getting probably old enough, I'm 63, we are at the same age with him. So I'll pour 10 drops just simply to keep my peacemaking fumes in a shot. You don't need to do anything. I will just, you know, here is him and the book. So let me try and figure out. Do you see the book?
I do.
You see my hand with the shot, otherwise I can't do it.
I do, with your Zamir vodka.
Yes, Tony, we miss you. Kevin is in Buffalo, Zamir is in Moscow. I know many people around the globe are waiting for this day to join us, because there'll be people, let's say, between Australia, Melbourne, and Hawaii. We will cover 21-hour time zones, right, in between. And they will do the toasting, and they will do this short 30-second toast as stories on Instagram, and will tag me to be available on my feed for the whole day. So, for example, not that we expect people to, you know, really drink alcohol. You can do it with cup of tea, or, you know, club soda, or, you know, Negroni, whatever you feel like more to remember him. And once you wake up, wherever you are, and if you don't manage to be part of my 3 toast appearances, as I mentioned, between 2 and 4 p.m. your time in the Eastern Coast, they will do their own story. They could do it alone, with friends, at home, whenever they are, and post it on my Instagram. So they'll be stored there for 24 hours. So that's surreal. I don't know how many people will do it, but I expect more than 10, to say the least.
I have a feeling that's going to be a very, very big Instagram story.
Well, I've never done it, so that's why I'm kind of a little bit uncomfortable to manage it, and the way I should as a Toastmaster and kind of coordinator. But I have people, that's why I mentioned this fan club, fan group. Hugh in Thailand, he is 4 hours ahead of me. So probably he will start toasting with Melbourne folks. They are closer to each other. And then the ball will come to me. Look at it as Olympic Games torch relay, right?
Right.
For me, Tony brought the light into my life, into your life, the way you sound, to many other people's life, right? He changed me. He changed my attitude towards street food, like most people change same way. I never was interested or paid attention. For me, it was more like hygienic problems and concerns. But being with him for quite some time on the road, you know, I realized that it's all about the heart and the warmth from those who cook it for you. So if you are on the field trip between, you know, talking of Uzbekistan, between Samarkand and Tashkent, it took us about 3-4 hour ride. We definitely stopped at a very, well, to call it like road cafe. Yeah, it doesn't mean much for you, because it's like basically in the middle of nowhere. There is no real water as a plumbing system. The toilet is more like a hole in the ground. And that happened to be the best kebab, shish kebab, grilled meat, and how to say, homemade baked bread, which was fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. You know, from everything I've seen in his shows, it was the places you expect to find such great food, the least are often where you find it.
Mm-hmm. And just to follow up on that lead, you're right. So he changed lives for many people, broke so many stereotypes. I was lucky, once you asked me about this, that not too many people know. I was invited by him to join him in 6 cities of the North America speaking engagement tour called Guts and Glory, around 2011,
Guts and
2012.
Glory. That it was 2013. That's where we met. It was the Guts and Glory.
Exactly. That's why I was there, actually. So he invited me to be there and then introduce him on stage to packed theaters, about 3,000 to 4,000 people, depending on the capacity, were really just waiting for his message, for his explanations, why he became a chef, how it could impact people's lives. There were so many people in the audience. You were there, so you probably saw all the questions and answers, right?
Yes, I quite remember a little ditty about Paula Deen too.
Yeah, that was kind of a little bit of a notoriety of his. He, you know, as a straight shooter, he always, you know, always gives the piece of his mind, no matter whether it was like, you know, like a real badass kind of guy, as people watched and enjoyed that side of him. But at the same time, very honest, very straightforward, no bullshit, never made promises he would never fulfill. Like he urged me to start writing my book after one of these public engagement events. I was with him in Dallas, Cleveland, Boston, Kansas City, Buffalo, and Baltimore. Right. So after one of the dinners in Cleveland, he said, Zamir, you know what? I'll be curious to read your book, like your transformations from a commie-born young pioneer, like Soviet, you know, scout, to
Sure.
a man of mystery. Yeah, to become a man of mystery, as he presented me to the
International
world
Man of Mystery.
TV audience. And I said, you must be kidding me. He said, no, start writing. I'll write an introduction and help you with the social media exposure. I said, wow, it's hard to believe. But between you and me, I became kind of trapped for two reasons. I did start with first male co-writer, and I didn't hear my voice. That was the number one problem. When you have a co-writer, like a ghostwriter,
Right.
they need to write in your voice, but everyone wanted to make his voice interesting, right? That was the, catch-22. So it took me 9 years, about 9 years this year, when I finally was introduced to a female co-writer. First time. All other men were probably interested in a pissing match with me, who has more of a capacity of a macho, which
Right.
didn't make me happy. So this woman, we are in the middle of it. She's really delivering things in my voice, or whatever I would call close to my voice than ever before. So I'm hopeful within, you know, several months from now, we'll be able to submit it to the publisher who seems interested. And hopefully, if it happens as a book publication, I'm planning a big Zamir book tour as another stage of my paying homage to Tony, the way who encouraged me to write it.
That's great.
So you'll be invited, and maybe I will ask you
I'm
to
in.
have a special dinner set up for us.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love to be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with everything going on and Tony being such an avid, voracious traveler, how do you think he would have reacted to the lockdowns and just kind of everything going on right now?
Well, I won't be surprised if there'll be a lot of vulgar colloquial messages sent on Twitter or elsewhere, because he's not the type of guy who would sit locked, as you understand.
Right.
He is totally absolute anti-locked. He didn't like cages. He was the most free-spirited rather I ever met. So that kind of impacted me, and he helped me release myself from all the slavery kind of genes I used to have from my Soviet parents and system. So from this standpoint, probably it would be a way to try and, support the local businesses, small bars, small restaurants for takeout, which is happening amazingly for me, and the way people support each other, the fundraising. So I would expect he would have his friends in New York, like Eric Ripper and Chef Jose from Washington restaurant. Yeah, Cholanders, and to set up this kind of a foundation to help those hospitality staff people who happen to be outside of it and who probably didn't get enough support when this whole stimulation check started with the delays. So that's where I see him.
think you're absolutely right. You know, seeing what Eric Repair and Chef Andres are doing to feed the front lines and put food out to, you know, food pantries and food soup kitchens, it's fantastic. And I agree with you that I think Tony would have dove into that wholeheartedly.
I have no doubts about it for one simple reason. Do you remember the Pussy Riot ladies band performing
Yes.
kind of a, you know, church performance kind of style, right?
They were from Russia, right?
Yeah, from Moscow, and they were definitely imprisoned. So once they were in exile or kind of under the hearings in the court, he and his friends from CBGB franchise. Do you remember the club, famous rock club, CBGB?
Yes. CBGB
So he introduced
in New York.
me. Yes, he introduced me to the guys who own the franchise. They came over to Moscow to bring some cash and some support from the community of, you know, Amnesty International and Transparent Human Rights Watch kind of thing. So the Russian authorities we were kind of hoping in vain, would release the girls. They didn't, so they gave them still a 2-year, I think, imprisonment. But he was right there, probably 2 weeks after it happened, and his guys came over to Moscow. I helped them set up the legal support and hired the right legal advisors on the ground. So in other words, he was probably the most human person I ever met in my life.
Yeah, I would agree.
Great human being.
So obviously, I know you lived in Buffalo for a while.
Yep.
And I know it kind of holds a special place in your heart. Have you kept up with the Bills at all?
You know, starting from 2009, the first time I emerged in freezing cold winter of Buffalo with Tony for Rust Belt episode, I had no clue what the future kept for me, right? Yep. So that's another way to explain to you in better terms. He must have been a visionary. He must have some kind of instincts why to bring Zamir into this interesting place, which was really rusty, cold. I don't remember any human being outside when we did that snowmobile in Delaware Park scene. But I met so many beautiful, warm, welcoming people with Nelson Star on top of the hospitality, the man who invited us there as sort of our sub-fixer for the show. And so we performed the niches. He performed the niches. We were kind of guests of his Benjamin's band. And of course, beef on whack, striking experience, first time. Buffalo wings for me, still one of my favorites. So we did have a lot of fun when you're talking about this. So that was probably the most fun-making trip for me with him. It's not that we didn't have time in other locations, but that was probably the most hospitable place on any of the shows I was with him.
We are
thanks to you, people there, right?
We do have we are known as the city of good neighbors.
That's exactly what I found for the first time in my life, traveling into many other countries. I felt like at home. And interesting joke from Nelson when he was picking us up from the Niagara International Airport. There was a bottle of Sovietskaya vodka in his van. And he said, Zamir, we love you. Welcome to Buffalo. I couldn't believe it. So before I go, I can't leave without toasting. So this is the toast to Buffalo, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
So chin chin with Tony. Can you see the hand, the shot, and the book? And
yes, sir.
Image. That's good. And as a chef, you'll understand that rye bread connects the wheat from my unique Russian recipe style vodka and the peasantry of Russia who produced that beautiful crop, and definitely him, the guy who always supported me in all my projects, including my own films, including vodka project. So I owe him. I want to reciprocate.
That's great. I know the time's kind of wrapping up here. I got a couple quick fire questions for you, and then one more question. What is your favorite food from your childhood?
Well, I was lucky to get the food, to say the least. So waiting online for about 40 minutes to an hour as minimum to get a piece of sausage or to get a piece of meat or with bones or something you will hardly call meat. Believe it or not, it was my dad, God bless his soul, who was amazing self-trained chef. What I loved most under his own recipe, it's like fried chicken with some herbs and tiny spices he used from Georgia. It's an ex-Soviet Union republic. They are the best gourmet food guys here. So he would put some weight on the frying pan thing, like an iron, if I remember correctly, to create more weight. So
you get a nice crispy.
The fresh chicken would be even more thin under pressure and smoked into this kind of butter he liked. So it became like the most melting piece of chicken.
Zamir, are you there? It looks like we're breaking up a little bit.
I have had since then.
Zamir, I'm not sure what's happening. We seem to be. Hello?
Hello?
I can hear your audio. Your video is kind of frozen here.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Are you there? I'm not sure. I think your signal's kind of breaking up here. I think we might have lost you. Zamir, if you can hear me, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I did have one more question about your son. I can shoot that over to you on our chat thread though, and I can include that in, or if you wanted to, respond in a video and send it over to me, I can kind of tie it in here. Oh, and you're out.